makers and market movers. This is The Pulse with Francine Lacqua.
Good morning and welcome to The Pulse. I'm Tom McKenzie in London with the conversations that matter. Here's what's coming up on today's programme. Rishi Sunak says his plans won't deliver more austerity for the UK. We bring you our exclusive interview with the British Prime Minister.
Government spending in the UK right now is at very high levels. Historically, over this Parliament, it's grown at very high levels, even in real terms after the impact of inflation. So I think any commentary or accusation that that's what's happening is just simply unfounded.
Israel and Hamas look to extend their temporary truce beyond today to allow for the release of more hostages and prisoners. US President Joe Biden backs the move, saying it's allowing the delivery of critically needed aid to Gaza. Plus, Black Friday record. Shoppers in the US spend almost $10 billion online in the kickoff to the holiday season. Now, the UK Prime Minister denies the country is heading towards austerity again, saying claims to that effect are, quote, simply unfounded. Rishi Sunak spoke exclusively with Bloomberg's Francine Lacqua as he hosts the Global Investment Summit. That meeting is aimed at drumming up foreign investment in the UK, with Sunak saying the £30 billion pledged so far is a big vote of confidence. Francine joins me now from that summit. Francine, the PM then says the UK is not heading for another round of austerity. There's clearly sensitivity around that word. What else stood out to you from this exclusive interview?
Well, Tom, it's very clear that the Prime Minister wanted to send a message for business that the UK is open for business. Now, when you arrive here in Hampton Court, right in front of the plenary, there's just the word great for Great Britain, but great, because he wants to attract those investments. Now, I have to say it's a bit of a Rolodex of anyone in the world with investment to put in that is here. We had Steve Schwarzman, he just walked in. We saw Sergio Armati. We saw Iberdrola. And actually, the chief executive was telling me that out of the £29 billion that are being put in the UK in these new investments, he's putting about $12 billion to look at the grid, to look at some of the greening technologies that he's so keen on in this country. But we did have this extensive interview, exclusive interview with the Prime Minister yesterday at Downing Street, and we really talked about the autumn statement, as you say, him pushing back against saying there are austerity measures in there. We also spoke about the European Court of Human Justice, Rwanda. Here he is.
First of all, we're excited to be hosting our Global Investment Summit, and it's our Welcome to Business event. I'm also very pleased that, as you mentioned, we have secured commitments of almost £30 billion of investment. That's more than double, if not triple, what we had when we last held this summit. So I think that's an enormous vote of confidence in the UK, and it comes on the back of a very positive autumn statement that we just delivered with significant support for business. So I think there's real momentum in the UK economy. You're seeing that with tangible commitments from investors at a scale we haven't seen before. So look, we're poised to have a very positive day.
So Prime Minister Jeremy Hunt framed the autumn statement as a pathway to growth, and yet the OBR trimmed their forecast for next year in 2025. Do you think the OBR is being too conservative?
Look, the story of the UK is an economy that has got real momentum. So I've been Prime Minister for just over a year. During that time, we've halved inflation, as I said we would do. We've known now that the UK economy has recovered faster from the pandemic than pretty much any other major European economy. And over the long term, we're still forecast to outperform major European economies. But crucially, business investment has grown faster than any other G7 economy over the last few years. And I think ultimately, if you want to drive growth and productivity in an economy, you need businesses to be investing. We have more momentum for business investment here than anywhere else. So look, I feel actually very positive about the long-term growth outlook for the UK.
So do you think the OBR is actually going to have to revise them upwards? Are you confident that the numbers will come in so that you can continue cutting tax?
What I can tell you is that when I became Prime Minister just over a year ago, not just the OBR, but also the Bank of England, the OECD and the IMF, all of them predicted that the UK would be in recession this year. That hasn't happened. We put in place a set of policies to ensure that it didn't, and I'm delighted the UK economy has outperformed all of those and has grown this year better than anybody thought. So look, I've got a track record in outperforming what people think, and as I said, the UK economy has real momentum now. Inflation has been halved, business investment is growing faster than elsewhere, and as I said, we've got commitments totaling almost £30 billion for our summit, significantly more than we've had in the past. So I think that shows that investors and companies are voting with their pounds and their dollars, and that shows that there is confidence in the economy, and that's what makes me think we're poised for strong growth.
But Prime Minister, if you look at inflation, if you actually exclude energy, it's about, been down by like a fifth. So I don't know how much credit the government can actually take on that.
Well, actually, if you look at core inflation, it's pretty much middle of the pack for European economies. Forecast next year to be lower than the Eurozone. And I think in the US, the last numbers I checked. So actually, the momentum on inflation is downwards and coming down faster than peers over the course of the next 12 months, if you look at the forecasts. And we're making sure that we are disciplined with borrowing. Like ultimately, what investors are looking at to make sure that fiscal policy is sensible. We're not fueling the inflationary fire. We're being sensible on public sector wage settlements, and actually you're seeing that feed through to the economy. And as I said, we're also improving labour supply. If I talk to businesses, what they're keen to see is access to labour. We're making sure that our labour market remains flexible, that we're moving people off welfare and into work. All of those things are contributing to, I think, downward momentum on inflation.
Prime Minister, if the OBR is actually right in their forecast, what does it mean where you can actually find some spending freeze or actually cuts?
Well, what we've just delivered are significant tax cuts. Significant tax cuts for business, significant tax cuts for everybody in work. That's what our autumn statement last week did. The biggest tax cuts in one event since the 1980s, just to give people a sense of scale. For business, what we're doing is making full expensing permanent. So we will be the only major G7 economy, certainly, and even broader than that, where you get a total write-off against your taxes for capital investment. That's an incredibly generous regime to attract business investment. And it comes on top of the fact that our corporation tax rate here is lower than any other G7 economy. And when it comes to individuals in work, we've just delivered a very significant personal tax cut that will put £450 extra in the bank accounts of a typical person in work over the next 12 months, which will also be good for consumption as well.
That you have to find money in, for example, departments where you know that voters actually want you to spend more in certain departments. So are you comfortable as possibly being Prime Minister of austerity?
No, that's simply not the case. Actually, government spending in the UK right now is at very high levels. Historically, over this Parliament, it's grown at very high levels, even in real terms after the impact of inflation. So I think any commentary or accusation that that's what's happening is just simply unfounded. And we're at a point now, given how people are feeling, given the amount that's being spent, where I think the priority has got to be lowering the tax burden. Right? Government's already spending a lot of people's money, and what we need to see going forward is more productivity out of the public sector. It needs to match what we've seen in the private sector post-COVID, and I'd rather focus on efficiency in the public sector and prioritise cutting people's taxes rather than the government spending ever more of their money. That's the point, I think, and I'm very clear that that is the choice that we are making.
But even if the voter doesn't necessarily feel that tax cuts because of inflation going up, so how much more can you cut taxes in April and beyond? Well,
it wouldn't be right to speculate on future events. We're just still digesting the one we've had, which, as I said, delivered the biggest tax cuts since any event since the 1980s. But what I have said is that this is the start of a journey. And, I meant that when I said, look, after we got inflation down, I wanted to focus on making sure that we reward people's hard work, making sure that we grow the economy and responsibly cutting taxes. And, when we can do more, we will, because that's the direction of travel here now.
Prime Minister, is the Rwanda flight taking off before the election actually critical to your message to voters, or will bringing down the immigration numbers be enough?
Well, I think the British people's priority is to stop the boats, to stop illegal migration. That's why at the beginning of this year, when I set out 5 key priorities I had, one of them was to deliver on that. And I'm really pleased that since I said that, we've managed to cut the numbers by a third. Now, when I got this job, they had gone up and up and up. They'd actually quadrupled in the past few years. But for the first time, they're now coming down. And not down by a little, down by a lot, down by a third, when in the rest of Europe, they're going up. So we're making progress. But I do want to deliver on our Rwanda plan, because that's how we will finish the job. And we're going to do everything that I deem necessary to make that happen.
So when, Prime Minister, will you publish a treaty and bill on Rwanda? And will the bill actually contain this notwithstanding clause so you can ignore future legal judgments?
No, what I've been very clear on is that we will address all the concerns that the courts have raised about Rwanda. I would gently point out that the United Nations themselves have used Rwanda for migrant resettlement schemes in the past, and we've worked with the Rwandan government to put in place a treaty which will reassure everyone and address all the concerns that have been raised, and then Parliament will be given the opportunity to scrutinise that and also demonstrate that it believes that Rwanda is safe for this type type of
But what does that
programme.
mean, Prime Minister, that you will push it, even if it means going against the European Court?
I think we can act completely in compliance with our obligations, and that's very much the approach we've taken so far. Some objections and concerns have been raised by our court. We will address all of those and then make it crystal clear that our Parliament, which of course is sovereign in these matters, will be able to scrutinise that and then actually determine that Rwanda is safe.
How will you decide when you call an election?
Again, that's something that we announce in the normal way.
But is there a trigger point? Are you looking at a certain number of something?
I'm not focused on elections. I'm really just focused on delivering on the things that I said I would do for the British people. And that is, now that we've halved inflation, we can turn on to cutting taxes, rewarding hard work. It's also about growing the economy. That's what our support and tax cuts for business were about last week. Also tackling illegal migration, stopping the boats, where we've made good progress already with more to come. These are all the things I'm focused on. And also, we've taken some big decisions here about a more pragmatic approach to net zero, for example, which is something that I think is right, that we've got to bring people with us on that journey. We've got to save working families money as we do it. So, we're doing some big things that are making a big difference to people, and I want to make sure that we deliver on this.
Prime Minister, you've also taken a hard line, of course, on rising anti-Semitism in the UK. The White House has denounced Elon Musk for what happened on X in the last couple of days. Do you do the same?
Yeah, look, I don't tend to get in the business of scrutinising what every single person says who I've interacted with. Of course I abhor anti-Semitism. And as you said, we've been unequivocal from the start of this situation that is not acceptable in our society. And we've been very firm about that. I've personally been very firm about that. It's very sad what is happening.
But are you condemning Elon Musk?
As I said, I condemn all anti-Semitism, right? It's not about any one particular personality. I condemn anti-Semitism in all its forms.
He has a voice. He has a big platform, Prime Minister.
And as I said, I condemn anti-Semitism in all its forms. It doesn't matter whether you're Elon Musk or you're someone on the street who's shouting abuse at someone who happens to be walking past you. That's wrong in all its forms. Anti-Semitism in all its forms is completely and utterly wrong. And we have strong laws in place here to tackle racial hatred. People are inciting it. Some of the scenes we've seen have been unacceptable. And the police know that they should be using the full force of their powers to bring those people to justice. That's what we've been very clear about. And that's what we will continue to do. And we've made sure that the Jewish community gets extra funding here to ensure their safety and security, and we will continue to do that.
Prime Minister, what kind of plan do you have for Gaza? When do you think the fighting will stop? And can the UK actually be involved in the peacekeeping role afterwards?
We've been consistently clear during this awful tragedy that Israel does have a right to defend itself. It should do that in accordance with humanitarian law. And we've also consistently called for sustained humanitarian pauses where aid can get in, but also hostages can come out. And I'm glad that that is now happening. And I think all of us will have seen some of the scenes over the past day or two and found that very heartening. It's important that everyone honours the agreement and we can continue to see more progress. And we will be continuing to talk to all our partners in the region, whether that's the Americans, the Israelis, the Egyptians, the Qataris, to make sure that we can see this through.
Is the UK still for a two-state solution?
Always has been and will continue to be. And we need to redouble our efforts towards that. And that's something we've been very clear about. And I spoke to the Palestinian president when I visited the region specifically about this. The UK will do everything it can to help the Palestinian Authority. We do need to look to the future of Gaza post-Hamas and actually make sure that everyone in the region can look forward to a future where they can live lives of dignity and security and opportunity. That's the vision that I think all of us share, but we've got to redouble our efforts to bring that about.
Well, that was our exclusive conversation with the Prime Minister of the UK, Rishi Sunak. Of course, we'll be here, Tom, throughout the day to try and speak to some of the people that have pledged quite a lot of money. We'll be speaking to the Lloyd's Chief Executive, Charlie Nunn, a little bit later, and also Steve Schwartzman of Blackstone. He just walked here. I understand there's right now a breakfast meeting with the Chancellor, and then they'll come out, there's the plenary, and they'll come and speak to Bloomberg.
OK, Francine Lacqua at the Global Investment Summit. Thank you, with plenty more interviews coming from that event, of course, through the next few hours. We're going to get back, of course, to Francine then shortly at the UK's Global Investment Summit for our interview with the HSBC UK Chief Executive. That's Ian Stuart. And coming up in the next few minutes, Israel and Hamas have signalled that a temporary ceasefire in Gaza could be extended beyond today to allow for the release of more hostages and prisoners. More on that next. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back. Now, Israel and Hamas have signalled that a temporary ceasefire in Gaza could be extended beyond today to allow for the release of more hostages and prisoners. Speaking on Sunday, US President Joe Biden backed prolonging the pause.
Critically needed aid is going in and hostages are coming out. And this deal is structured so that it can be extended to keep building on these results. That's my goal. That's our goal, to keep this pause going beyond tomorrow.
Bloomberg's Israel Bureau Chief Ethan Bronner joins us for more. Ethan, it strikes me that this is the first time that we've heard both the US, Iran, Hamas and Israel all suggesting in their various different ways that a potential extension to this truce is in the cards. How likely do you think it is at this point that this truce will indeed be extended?
I think it's reasonably likely. I mean, don't forget that the original deal agreed by the Israeli cabinet 5 days ago specifically said after the first 50 hostages and 4 days of ceasefire, there could be an extension per day of 10 hostages. So it was baked into the original deal. There's an enormous amount of mistrust between the two sides. So, you know, each day there have been problems, and today there's already a little bit of a problem with the list and with the prisoners who are going to be released. So we'll have to see, with each time it's a matter of hours when they agree. But I think it's reasonably likely that a day or two of extension will occur.
OK, reasonably likely that a day or two of extension will occur. And you touched on this, and we saw it play out over the weekend. The dispute as well around that humanitarian aid into Gaza. To what extent can the US bring pressure to bear on Israel around getting more of that aid into the territory?
Well, I think the U.S. has been instrumental in getting aid into the territory. I mean, from the beginning, the American position has been to Israel, we share your goal of eliminating Hamas. But if you do so in a way in which people die of disease or of hunger, in which you're not obeying humanitarian law, then that's not going to work at all. So let's take our time here. Let's make sure that there is aid getting in, that the trucks are permitted in, that people are taken care of, that there is not unnecessary civilian death. And that has been the American message, and it has been, relatively accepted here. I think the Americans have had a huge role in how this war has played out.
Well, Ethan, on that front, how much success has there been in getting aid into Gaza, and how much more is needed? How much has gone in the last few days, and what is the deficit still?
I think there have been hundreds of trucks have gone in. I'm in no position to tell you how many more are needed. It's obviously virtually a humanitarian catastrophe. People are not able to get into bakeries. They're being forced to eat terrible things right now across Gaza. It is a very difficult situation. And I think that more needs to get in. I mean, the question of how you define need is complicated. If you're fighting a war and the most important thing to you is to win, then you have minimal notion of needs. The Americans and everyone else are pushing them to increase the amount of humanitarian aid to get in because they want people not to die unnecessarily. They want Israel, at least the Americans want Israel, to be able to pursue this war in a way that doesn't lead to an enormous amount of unnecessary deaths. And a huge number have already occurred, of course.
OK, Bloomberg's Israel Bureau Chief with an excellent and important insight and update in terms of the evolving situation there as the truce, at least for now, continues to hold. Ethan Bronner, thank you very much indeed. Plenty more still to come. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg. The conversations that matter and the insights you need. This is The Pulse. I'm Tom McKenzie in London. Let's get you up to speed on some of the other top red stories on the Bloomberg terminal this Monday. And Russia has seen one of the biggest drone attacks in months. The Russian Defense Ministry said 24 drones were shot down overnight and early Sunday morning across at least 4 regions, including Moscow. Ukraine's air defense, meanwhile, said it shot down 71 of 75 drones aimed mainly towards the Kyiv region and launched from 2 directions within Russia. China's Health Commission says a combination of pathogens is causing a surge in acute respiratory infections across the country. Influenza is one of the main causes of a spike in cases, which have been predominantly seen in children. And it's reported that US President Joe Biden is to skip COP28. The AFP source didn't give a reason for the decision, but aides have suggested the president is focused on the current conflict in the Middle East. Leaders and officials from more than 200 countries are expected to attend the climate summit that begins later this week in Dubai. And the Reserve Bank of Australia has appointed the former Bank of England official Andrew Hauser as its new deputy governor, making him the first foreigner to hold the position. He'll be tasked with supporting Governor Michelle Bullock as she implements the 51 recommendations of an independent review of the central bank. Coming up, we're going to speak to the HSBC UK CEO, Ian Stuart, at the UK's Global Investment Summit. That is next. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back. Rishi Sunak says his plans won't deliver more austerity for the UK. This as he courts investment from international business leaders and investors. We are live from the Global Investment Summit here in London. Israel and Hamas look to extend their temporary truce beyond today to allow for the release of more hostages and prisoners. US President Joe Biden backs the move, saying it's allowing the delivery of critically needed aid to Gaza. Plus, Black Friday record. Shoppers in the US spend almost $10 billion online in the kickoff to the holiday season. Good morning and welcome to The Pulse. I'm Tom McKenzie in London. Let's check in on these European markets then, an hour and a half into the trade this Monday. European stocks still looking for direction. The context is that you have seen gains so far this month of about 7% for European stocks. Across your sectors, you're seeing real estate gaining 0.3% in positive territory, followed by telecoms as well. There's the map then. The UK, the FTSE 100 lower so far in the session today. You're seeing gilt yields on the debt markets here in the UK. Yields just dropping around 1 basis point at the front end. When it comes to the FTSE 100, currently down 0.3%. Energy is a drag there, as is basic resources. France also in negative territory. The IBEX over in Spain just clinging on to gains of 0.2%. A couple of charts to bring to your attention then, and this is the zoom out context as well. Global stocks on track for a 4-week rally. Global stocks. And part of this is around the narrative that bad data is good news for stocks. To what extent does that continue? And is there further upside for this equity rally that we are seeing? Mark Cudmore of our MLive team, executive producer there, executive editor, saying that there is still further to run. Now, there's context in terms of the gains that have come through in the last 4 weeks on expectations, of course, that central banks have done in terms of their rate increases and that cuts are in the offing. That debate, of course, remains live and has played into the Treasury market. And here's the chart in terms of the comeback for Treasuries then. Year to date, you are actually now in positive territory, and there's an expectation from strategists that that does continue in terms of the gains coming through and lower yields across the Treasury curve on expectations, of course, that the Fed is done, that the softening in the jobs market continues, that inflation continues on that downward trajectory, and that cuts can come through from the Federal Reserve in 2024. Let's get back to the events unfolding here in London, though. The Global Investment Summit, of course, in the UK capital, and Bloomberg's Francine Lacqua, who, of course, has been speaking to the Prime Minister and is joined now by another guest. Francine.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. I have to say it's a bit of a Rolodex of who's who in the world of finance coming through the doors here, I guess, to pledge money to the UK, or at least to talk about doing business. The Prime Minister is saying £29.5 billion will be pledged today. Well, I'm delighted also to look at the UK economy because they have a unique insight. I'm delighted to be joined by Ian Stuart. He's the HSBC UK Chief Executive Officer. Ian, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
First of all, it is an exciting day. I mean, a lot of questions about the autumn statement, about whether even this cabinet and government will replace or will be in place for much longer. But you're optimistic about the UK. What are you seeing that's making you rosy?
Well, first of all, the UK is proving to be very resilient. We're not in recession, and everyone predicted we would be in recession. And I think the changes that the Chancellor made last week is another boost to business, which will help them hopefully invest more in tech and life sciences. So I think we are optimistic because the UK economy is proving to be very resilient.
Are you surprised about that? Again, interest rates have gone up very significantly. Are you seeing any stress in any of your credit card users or any business finance loans?
We're not seeing excess stress. You see pockets where it's marginally higher than it's been, but nothing in comparison with pre-pandemic. So both the consumer and the UK businesses are proving incredibly resilient. But we've seen that time and time again over recent years. So we should be very grateful that people are managing their cash well in these difficult times.
Were you quite positive about the autumn statement overall? We asked also the Prime Minister whether this was austerity because of cuts that he had to put to fund some of the tax cuts, and he said no.
Well, the Chancellor gave a very good update, actually, in your premises last Thursday night, and he was very clear this was a budget for business to try and drive more growth, and it's a big boost. I mean, the capital allowances alone are really good for businesses who are investing. The key is, will the businesses invest to take advantage of those allowances?
So are you able to muster up business because of it? Have you been in contact with people overseas that maybe want to pour extra money through you in the UK?
Well, it was interesting at the drinks reception last night. There were a lot of overseas investors, and they were very much looking to invest more in the UK. Now, we're in a privileged position in HSBC as we track a lot of the investment coming in, and we also help a lot of our customers go out. And at the moment, people do want to invest in the UK, so I'm not surprised the Prime Minister is talking about £29.5 billion of investment. It would be good to see that materialise over the next 24 or 48 hours.
Ian, how transformative has been the takeover of SVB UK to HSBC's aims to actually, I guess, build its tech presence?
Well, it's very exciting for us. I have to say it's been a very steep learning curve for myself and other members of the team, but we are excited about the opportunities that bring us. It gives us access into new markets where we weren't really that active before. We've always been in tech, but to get into stage 1 and stage 2 is really exciting for us. And we see a huge opportunity in the UK for the innovation banking side of our business.
So does it help in the UK and then further afield? Does it put a foot in the door for actually more business in the tech space?
Well, you've got to remember, the UK is the third largest innovation market in the world, behind the US and China. So inflows of capital into the UK are strong. We want to capture that with innovation banking and help young, thriving businesses get to the next level. So, yeah, definitely see a great opportunity going forward.
As far as I understand it, the problem is that money comes into the UK, but then the big companies that kind of give back get, if not put elsewhere, they get IPO'd elsewhere. What would you do differently to make the City of London thrive?
Well, first of all, I think everyone's aware of that, and so there's quite a lot of work going on behind the scenes just now at the London Stock Exchange, etc., to try and make that process easier. But we share the frustration. We don't want to see all our great tech companies IPOing outside the UK. It would be great if more of them IPO'd in the UK.
Have you found out what caused the problems with your online furthers late last week?
So on Friday we did have a technical glitch. Actually, I really appreciate you asking me that. It gives me a chance to apologise to our customers who were impacted. Most customers managed to get their payments made. It was a technical glitch. It was not a cyber attack. We fixed the problem. We've got the root cause as well. So from about Saturday late in the day, everything was working smoothly. But I do apologise for customers who couldn't make a payment. Hopefully we've sorted out the issues and payments are going through now.
Was it linked to Black Friday sales?
No, it was purely a technical issue that was behind the scenes. It was with a third-party supplier. We had to get to the bottom of that. We didn't want to take any chances, but we've got that sorted now. So hopefully everything's working smoothly. But again, apologies for anyone who was impacted.
Could you give us an update on actually how many money was spent at Black Friday? Do you have those figures yet, or do you still need to wait for the end of today?
So we were getting data actually all through Friday, all through Saturday, and then you've got Cyber Monday, so we expect a big uptake today. It was marginally up year on year, but it was marginal on the data I've got so far. I will get a further cut at midday today, so we're just a couple of hours ahead of that, but marginally up.
Ian, I'm sure you've met also with some representatives of Labour. What do they tell you about business and investment in this country?
Well, we have had quite a lot of interaction with Labour. It's exactly the same. They want growth. Everyone understands that to make the economy strong, to have the social services that we all want, you need a strong economy. So you can really see the focus on that. And I think that's really good. It protects jobs. It brings more investment into businesses. Hopefully it improves productivity, which is a big issue for the UK. So that's all about investment and confidence. Confidence is a key component, and businesses will invest if they're confident.
And so that's what, just stability? Do you worry that we're going to see market volatility that will lead to instability?
Well, I think as you're in an election year, potentially an election year, people will delay, and we're seeing a little bit of that at the moment. People are pausing. I think there's a cautiousness across business at the moment, but hopefully, as we go into 2024, that will improve. The tax incentives last week will also help that. So, no, I remain in the optimistic camp, but cautiously optimistic.
Okay, what worries you the most, though?
The resilience always is a great thing about the UK. I never cease to be amazed about how resilient people are, and people run businesses. So as long as that resilience remains, we'll get through 2024 and hopefully see more investment. I'm always looking for more investment. That helps us become more productive, protects jobs. So looking to see that investment go up next year.
And any staffing issues? Are you able to find the right people, and do you need to pay them more to keep them at HSBC?
So we've been very consistent. We've got a very stable force, which is good. I think having our senior team in place, I've got a really good senior team around me who are stable, and that's really helped us. So don't see any major changes. The thing that will challenge us is we'll need a new set of skills as we move into the world of AI. We'll need different, fresher skills, so we're reskilling our people and looking for new talent all the time, as you would expect.
Do you expect more consolidation amongst UK banks?
I think that will happen, yes. I can see more consolidation. It's very competitive. The UK has always been a competitive financial services industry, and there's a lot of operators. So I can see more consolidation over the next 2 years.
Ian Stuart, thank you so much for joining us here at Hampton Court at the Global Investment Summit, and we'll have plenty more, of course, throughout the day. That was the HSBC UK Chief Executive Officer. Coming up, we'll also speak to the Lloyds Chief Executive and then Steve Schwartzman of Blackstone.
OK, Bloomberg's Francine Lacqua on the ground for us at Hampton Court Palace with the HSBC UK CEO. Thank you. Coming up, a surge in respiratory illnesses in China as health authorities warn of a spread to the wider population. We bring you the latest from Shanghai. This is Bloomberg. The conversations that matter and the insights you need. This is The Pulse. I'm Tom McKenzie in London. Now, this week's MLive Pulse survey has a green feel to it in the lead up to COP28, the United Nations Climate Conference, of course, that kicks off this week, later this week. Market participants have been telling Bloomberg what their outlook is for ESG next year. ESG and climate change reporter Alistair Marsh is here with the details then. Alistair, investors turning a little bit sour on some of those EV stocks. What is behind this turn in terms of the view, in terms of the momentum on ESG from investors?
Yeah, well, it's pretty ugly, actually. So EVs and clean energy, which are two of the kind of core pillars of ESG, the outlook on both of those is souring. In fact, investors who responded to the survey, 60% of them suggest that next year both of those sectors will trade down, and so much so that in EVs, they're expecting Tesla, which is sort of the poster child of EVs, will drop out of the top 10 most valuable stocks in the S&P 500. So pretty bad. And this is not setting a great tone as we run into COP28, where there's going to be a big focus on getting finance to climate solutions like EVs, like clean energy. So yeah, not a great outlook.
On one level, it's completely counterintuitive, given the funding that's come through from the US with the Inflation Reduction Act, the funding that's coming through from Europe, and the fact that most investors we speak to say, yes, there is a renewable energy shift now. That change has to happen. So what is kind of underpinning this, and how do you think it looks as you look into 2024? How are investors thinking about how climate change stocks kind of factor into their portfolios in the next 12 months or so? Right.
Well, it does have to happen. And at COP28, there will be a big focus on tripling renewable energy, which will require, of course, trillions of dollars of investment. However, you have a number of things weighing against that. You have inflation, higher interest rates, which have not helped green stocks at all. And in the US, you have this really toxic, I would call it, anti-ESG backlash, which has really sort of soured investor appetite for anything ESG. The sheen has totally come off. In 2020, 2021, anything green was, was gold. Yeah. But not so much anymore.
Anything green was gold. But it's, as you say, it's become the whipping boy of the political right, at least, in the US. And you're saying that actually has had a material impact, not just a rhetorical impact, but it's had a material impact in terms of fund flows into ESG products.
It has, and in addition to that kind of impact, you also have what's known as green hushing. So those who fear being accused of greenwashing are now doing something called green hushing, which means they may continue to invest in green, they may keep some money there, but they're just not talking about it anymore. And as the returns come off, there's less and less incentive to talk about it.
Okay, so our vernacular and our verbiage around all things climate continues to expand on this, from greenwashing to green hushing. Alistair, thank you very much indeed on those ESG flows, the concern from investors around the role that ESG and climate stocks may play in their portfolios as a result of a number of factors, inflation, politics and a lot else. Alistair Marsh, thank you very much indeed. Sticking with what is happening in climate change and the focus on funding around some solutions, China is in fact part of there's a big push in China, I should say, around funding, of course, renewable energy, and we have a big piece on that. It's today's Big Take. It's really worth a look. But in terms of other things that happen here in China, and here's where we move on to the health story, because the nation's health commission says a combination of pathogens is causing a surge in acute respiratory infections across the country. Influenza is one of the main causes of a spike in cases, predominantly seen in children. For more, let's go to Bloomberg's Alan Wan then, who's on the ground in Shanghai for us. Alan, it sounds very concerning. What exactly is causing these respiratory diseases? How severe is the situation in cities like Shanghai, Beijing and elsewhere?
Well, I mean, first you got to understand, it's the first winter since the end of the pandemic restrictions. So there's going to be a natural rebound. But what's unusual is that the number of cases of walking pneumonia, they call it mycoplasma, mycoplasma is unusually high. And also, you just have the convergence of all these pathogens, all known pathogens at the same time. You got the adenovirus, the rhinovirus, you got the flu, and then you got the walking pneumonia, all converging at the same time. And with walking pneumonia, it's especially concerning just because it seems that a very popular class of antibiotics called macrolides, such as azithromycin, are not that effective against this, against this illness. So that's particularly concerning. And in terms of how serious it is, well, we've been hearing reports of how there are pediatric clinics up in Beijing, up in the north, that are being overwhelmed. We're hearing how parents with their kids have to wait several hours to see a doctor. That said, the government has said that it's seeing a decline in the number of walking pneumonia cases among children, but it warns that there could be an upsurge in cases regarding influenza and a more broad-based infections between now and the spring.
So, Alan, how is you touched on a little bit of the government's response to this concerning situation that continues to unfold. Are we likely to see them dipping into any measures they used during the COVID-19 outbreak, or any restrictions being put in place? How are they responding to this spread?
Well, I mean, you got to understand, I mean, China, suffered a lot of criticism for its handling of COVID. So hopefully it's learning from our experience. The World Health Organization asked for more data from China after a recent surge in undiagnosed cases, and China has been responsive. And also, the State Council, a task force, has told local governments to be better prepared for these outbreaks. That means, opening more fever clinics and doing things like that. And also, you have parents telling schools, hey, maybe we should suspend in-house teaching, maybe even go back to Zoom. And you have, people wearing masks again in subways, especially in big cities like Beijing and Shanghai.
OK, Bloomberg's Alan Wan with an update on the situation around the pneumonia cases and other respiratory illnesses in China. Thank you very much indeed joining us out of Shanghai. Coming up, record online spending in the US on Black Friday. But what is it matched here in the UK? We discuss what retailers can expect this Cyber Monday. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back. The conversations that matter and the insights you need. This is The Pulse. I'm Tom McKenzie in London. Now, online shoppers in the US spent a whopping and a record $9.8 billion on Black Friday. That is according to data from Adobe Analytics. Demand for electronics, smartwatches, TVs and audio equipment saw sales jump 7.5% compared with last year. So can we expect more of the same this Cyber Monday? Let's bring in Charlie Wells, who's been poring over the data for us. What are we learning so far about Cyber Monday and whether or not that traction continues?
Tom, so I would say it's been a strong start, but I think we know in British English sometimes strong start doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. And basically what we saw is some really solid data coming out of Friday, but retailers have been really squeezed over the past year, and they really need a record Christmas quarter to sort of come up for some of the shortfalls that they've been talking about. So big box retailers in the United States have been saying that consumers are really kind of pulling back a bit. They're feeling that inflation pressures are starting to kind of make some trade-offs. And I think consumer sentiment in the U.S. has been lower. And we know that in the U.S. a lot of times house prices, which in a lot of markets have been down, actually impact how more affluent Americans feel and how willing they are to spend. And we're seeing some negative relationships there.
Well, we're seeing house prices in the UK under pressure here, of course. So how are things shaping up? How much demand is there in the UK? The UK economy is in a very different place to the US, arguably kind of less resilience. Are we seeing that demand still for the consumer?
Well, it's really striking and it's really important because consumer spending here in the UK makes up 60% of GDP. So these sales are really important for the health of the economy. And certainly there will be hope that there is demand. We've seen some improvement in consumer sentiment, I think up about 6 points according to GfK, a market research firm. But consumer sentiment in that study is still negative 24. So that's really bad, well below pre-pandemic levels, and so it could be a difficult Christmas for a lot of these retailers here.
And you've touched on the fact that some of the demand may be pulling forward from consumers, their purchases, and maybe sales start to ebb off, so that's maybe a factor to watch as well in the kind of weeks ahead.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Charlie Wells, thank you very much indeed, breaking down the Black Friday sales data and, of course, what is happening here on Cyber Monday as well and how it's all impacting the UK. Here's some of the other big events we are watching out for this week. Today, 2 p.m. UK time, ECB President Christine Lagarde is set to give her quarterly testimony to the European Parliament's Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs. An hour later at 3 p.m, we're going to get new home sales data from the US. Charlie just linking the home sales picture in the US to the appetite for consumers to go out and spend. Tomorrow, we're going to be keeping a close eye on earnings from Chinese e-commerce giant PDD, or Pinduoduo, which is a major competitor to the likes of Alibaba and Jingdong, JD as well. And on Wednesday, we're going to watch out for fresh German CPI data, so inflation out of Germany, as we continue to monitor the fragility in, of course, the Eurozone's largest economy. Plus, US GDP data, that is later in the day. Thursday, OPEC Plus scheduled to hold an online meeting after that in-person gathering was delayed last week. And then there's inflation data, of course, out of the US as well, plus COP28. We have live, extensive coverage from the summit. We've got plenty more coming up here, of course, in the next few hours as well. Do stay with us as we look at European stocks across the benchmark down 0.3%. This is Bloomberg.